Recording. Welcome everyone to another fun-filled evening of Fall Education Week. Tonight we get two great presentations. We get the first presentation will be from the L.O.T group about hybrid meetings. And the second presentation tonight will be about how Toastmasters and Rotary have formed a strategic alliance and how that works for all of our clubs. So I welcome all of you to tonight. Our first presentation tonight will be from L.O.T. But before we get to that, our district director is on tonight, and I would love to give Jean a moment to say any words you might have to the group before we get started.
Thank you, Scott. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see you. Thank you for your time and your attention this evening. I am excited about tonight's presentations. They are incredibly timely, and I'm very thankful for Scott and the presenters for putting this together for us this evening. Hybrid meetings are something that the L.O.T team has been doing for a long time. They have great experience, and I am sure that we will pick up some great tips to be able to support our clubs. And I am looking very forward to the Rotary presentation as well. Scott, I'm going to turn things back to you. They are not here to listen to me. I am thankful for their attendance. And take it away, Scott. Let's get started on the presentations tonight.
Thank you so much, Jean. First up is Leadership Outreach Toastmasters. L.O.T has been an early adopter of the hybrid meeting model. They have made and learned from a myriad of mistakes. As a result, they now have a wealth of knowledge to help everyone else avoid the potholes they have found. Sam Bristol will be hosting a panel of Toastmasters from various clubs to help you learn how to best hold hybrid, a combination of in-person and online attendance meetings. Each panelist will share what has gone well and what lessons they have learned. We invite you to welcome Sam Bristol, past district governor, Valerie Rice, DTM, David Parnin, DTM, and Mark Mandel tonight as the panelist. It is my pleasure to turn this meeting over to Sam Bristol and the L.O.T group. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
All right. Thank you, Program Quality Director Scott, District Director Jean. Welcome, fellow Toastmasters, to tonight's special L.O.T meeting as we focus on hybrid meetings. I'm going to jump right in as I'm serving as the Toastmaster for this evening's meeting as well. I am also the president of L.O.T. I want to thank the club for allowing us to move our meeting to this night. And thank you for members for volunteering to do various roles in our meeting, which will be unseen. We have several people who are serving as evaluators, providing written evaluations for several of the speeches tonight. Those evaluators include past district directors Joe Phillips and Lucy Nixon, Area 37 Director Laura Anderson, who's here with me at our in-person L.O.T meeting site, and serving as timer will be Donna Caseborn, Division H Director. So thank you all for stepping up to serve in those roles tonight. Let's give them a round of applause. What will happen tonight is in Leadership Outreach, we do a thing called Leaders Forum. And tonight's, we're going to give you a longer version of that, where we have a speech or two on a topic, and then we have a discussion. So tonight, the forum topic is hybrid meetings. And tonight, we'll have 4 Toastmasters sharing their experiences with hybrid meetings in their various clubs. As a reminder for our presenters, Donna Kay is one against the timer, so make sure you have her video when it's time for you to give a presentation. And this time I'm going to go ahead and go first in terms of the presenters. And I'll tell Don when to start timing in a second here. And Donnie, you may go ahead and begin. I'm showing you on the PowerPoint slide various clubs which I've been involved with in terms of hybrid meetings. Prior to March 15th-ish, Leadership Outreach and Turning Point were my clubs that were holding hybrid meetings. Now, let me back up a second. What in the world is a hybrid meeting? Some of you may not know what the term means. For the purposes of Toastmasters, it's simply any combination of an online and in-person meeting for Toastmasters. Before March 15th, hybrid meetings meant most attendees were in person. However, after March 15th, when COVID started going across the country, that has changed. And now, if you hold a hybrid meeting, most likely, most attendees are online with very few in person. So I'm going to quickly share with you some stories of my experiences with these three clubs in terms of hybrid meetings. First of all, the first lesson which I'll share with you is your club has to be ready for it. You may be considering doing a hybrid meeting at some point, but when you come to that point, you need to think and ask your club members, do you want to do this? It is more of a hassle to do the combination of the two formats, in person and in hybrid. I learned this lesson from my home club at Turning Point in the Indianapolis area. Turning Point had a couple members who were interested in starting hybrid meetings again in the fall. And our in-place meeting place had us to start looking at protocol for COVID-19. So once that was done, I suggested we do a test run during the month of September to see how it would be having hybrid meetings again. We did this 3 times and none of the members showed up for those hybrid meetings, the in-person part of the meetings. Our club president took a survey and discovered that most members said, I'll wait until we get a vaccine, then I'll think about hybrid meetings. I think that's a sentiment of a lot of Toastmasters these days. So before we jump into hybrid meetings, check with your club members to make sure they are willing to, again, have that combination of in-person and online attendance. Second lesson learned is sound. Sound, sound, sound. I learned this lesson painfully with my work club, Golden Gavel Toastmasters. Lou Bagnell, a fellow L.O.T member and our past district director, shared with L.O.T members a link to a video of a group of Toastmasters that were into hybrid meetings. And I watched that video earlier this summer. Now in that video, the emphasis was on sound, lots of good sound that's very important for the people who are meeting in person. Alas, my Golden Gavel Club, we started having hybrid meetings in August. The first one, it didn't go well because the sound wasn't good. My laptop wasn't that great in terms of sound for the room we were in that day. Several of the members pointed that out and I said, okay, I'm gonna start looking around. And I started looking around first for a Bluetooth microphone that individuals could wear, but I thought that'd be too cumbersome. I looked at another microphone like this, another microphone like this. These are USB microphones which could be plugged into my PC. We found a solution that works. It's wired. It does work. Great sound according to the club members, and we've used it ever since. So again, sound quality is very important in this environment. Finally, keep it simple. My Leadership Outreach Toastmaster Club members went through this lesson, fortunately. When we first had our first hybrid meeting in August, it didn't go well because I thought I could use my phone as the main place for video and for the sound. That didn't work out well. Quickly realized, go back to the old laptop, plug in the microphones to it. They're wired, but they worked, and we've used those ever since. So no matter what format you use, keep it simple. And a lot more Toastmaster clubs that are doing hybrid are sharing those simple tips as well. So my fellow Toastmasters, 3 lessons tonight. Make sure that your club members are ready for a hybrid meeting format. Also, sound quality is huge, very important. And finally, just keep your setup simple as possible to make life easier. With that, I'm going to go on and hear the rest of our panelists. And fellow Toastmasters, let me tell you that as questions arise in your mind, keep those questions, write them down or have them ready to go. We'll have a question and answer session towards the end of this meeting tonight. But now we're going to hear from our second panelist tonight. And she is Valerie L. Rice. Valerie is an award-winning speaker and a distinguished Toastmaster. She's an attorney at law who also serves as an adjunct faculty member for Ivy Tech Community College and course developer for those who want to build online courses. Since joining Toastmasters in 2014, she has served as an area director and a member of the District Leadership Committee for Division A. This year, she is District's Press Release Coordinator. In May 2017, she sponsored a new club at Ivy Tech in Gary, the TLC Toastmasters Ivy Tech Club. As the club's immediate past president, she will share tonight insights on that club's journey to hybrid meetings. Join me in welcoming Valerie L. Rice. Your style is the key. Your style is the key. Valerie L. Rice, Distinguished Toastmaster. Valerie.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guest. Most of us know that 82% of the Toastmasters are meeting online. This tells us a great deal about the amount of time that we're investing in these online meetings. Did you know that what you can get in return for those meetings are directly related to your leadership style? Today, my talk will be in 2 parts. Part 1, I'll give you the story of how TLC Toastmasters Ivy Tech's journey came to be a hybrid club. Part 2, I'll give you a list that hopefully will help you to run effective hybrid meetings. Let's start with my story. Just to let you know, TLC Toastmasters Ivy Tech was hybrid from the beginning. But how did that happen? I remember one day sitting in a business portion of our Toastmasters meeting, and my authoritative leadership style kicked in. And I just put it out there on the table and I said, guys, we need to be hybrid. Now remember, this was before we had chartered. I sat back and waited a moment. Looked like everyone in the room, eyes were just glossed over. I then let that democratic leadership style take over and say, what do you think? I remember a man raised his hand and I said, yes. He said, why would Toastmasters need to be online? I then automatically thought about, I'm innovative, put it out there. I remember saying, guys, online is the future. A woman quickly interjected and she said, but we're in the room. What do we need to be online for? We're in the room. I let a pregnant pause come over. I thought I was going to have to shift again. Then suddenly, Denise Crowther, who is our Area 11 director, she spoke up in a soft voice and very calmly, she said, guys, Valerie's been doing this for a while. If she can do it, I'm certain she'll lead us through it. Hybrid was born. All I could think was, yes, we're in. Unfortunately, when we began to implement our meetings, I had the same level of resistance. And I could understand that. People were unsure. Like the woman said, we're in the room. What do we need to be online for? That innovative leadership style had to kick in again. I remember contacting Denise and I said to her, Denise, do you know of one person who we could get to come online? Any friends that you might have that is in another state? She said, I don't know. I'll get back to you. When she did, she excitedly told me, Deborah Swan from Atlanta, Georgia is willing to join our club. Hybrid was born. Not just born, they loved her. She's still with our club today, and Miss Swan became the catalyst that allowed that team at that time to understand the importance of opening up that online meeting space. As we continue to move along, and this was years ago, we'll be 4 years old on May 15th of 2021. This brings me to the second part of my talk. Let me give you a top 6 list of things that we have learned on our journey that could help you as you continue with your hybrid meetings. Let's start with number 6. Number 6, use the keyboard shortcut feature rather than the mouse. Number 5, spotlight rather than pen your speakers. Number 4, use the chat box rather than shout outs. Number 3, use online etiquette rather than your comfy zone. Number 2, use Kahoot instead of settling for the regular meeting normal. Number 1, use protocol rather than have that stance. It's my way or the highway. There you have it. I've given you our story of how we became a hybrid club, how that journey looked for me, and I now understand each time we give a meeting, we are still online, but of course, like you, one day we're going to be face to face. Our club will continue as a team to move forward as a hybrid club. If you want more details, just simply ask during the Q&A, and I would love to be more detailed about my 6 tips that's most helpful for running a hybrid meeting. Mr. Toastmaster?
Thank you, Valerie, for sharing those insights on your club's journey to hybrid meetings. Thank you again for doing that. All right, I'm going to now have our next speaker up in a minute here. Mark Mandel is the VP of Education for the Vineyard Toastmasters Club in Indianapolis in Division E. As you can see from the slide, he is Advanced Communicator Gold, Advanced Leader Silver, and I might embarrass him here. He told me he's about to submit paperwork to become a distinguished Toastmaster. So let's give him a round of applause for that. Tonight, He's going to share with us the story of the Vineyard Club, and their journey with hybrid meetings. So this time I'll let Mark take over as our next panel presenter. Mark, you're up.
You know, if you're old like I am, you might remember the Brady Bunch and how forward they were in having Zoom as their original platform. In fact, when you listen to the creators of Zoom speak, they actually, in their TED Talk, refer to the fact that when they were coming up with the concept of Zoom, they actually had the thought about the Brady Bunch. But I digress. Friends, fellow Toastmasters, as Sam said, my name is Mark Mandel. I'm the VP of Education at Vineyard Toastmasters. And let's tell you the story of our journey in the hybrid model. You know, we were on Zoom like everybody else. We had meetings, but there was something missing in our journey. In fact, my good friend and colleague, Alan, and the club officers were talking about the fact that there were members who specifically said, we really don't want to come to online meetings. Until you meet in person, we will not be able to come or take part. And that's a problem. That's something you have to think about when you consider that most clubs have a wide myriad of members, both in ages and of course in seniority. Challenge accepted was how Vineyard Toastmasters looked at that. I came home one day and I said to my wife, wouldn't it be fun if we actually met in person in our house? A week later, knock on the door, and there is Mr. Alan Shaner with a projector and everything in his head of how we were going to move forward as a hybrid club. Now, I'll tell you, things weren't easy, as our other presenters have already said. We've had numerous computers. We were trying to figure out the whole visual piece. We had the same audio-visual problem, the audio problems that Sam alluded to earlier, in how do you get both online and in-person sound and video quality to be good. A knock on the door one day, and there's Mr. Allen again with a ginormous piece of white foam. Here you go, Mark, here's your projector base. And so our club started evolving week after week with little pieces, bits and pieces. I can tell you that first meeting we had in my house, we had 4 very nervous people, and then we had people online as well. But the idea started to fall in. Move forward a few weeks after that, and we were regularly getting 7 to 8 people in our meetings at the house, and about another 8 or 9 people on Zoom as well. One day we got a call from Perry Township office who said, you know, you can come back and meet here now. That opened a whole new challenge. And that's really what I want to focus on today. I want to tell you what we learned and what went wrong as we learned. So let's start off with the obvious one. Perry Township is a government building. Sure, they have the internet, but it doesn't necessarily work very well. And so challenge number 1 for us was, how do we have an online meeting and in person beaming around the world, because we've had members from all over the world come and join us. One meeting we had the United Kingdom, we had India, and Missouri. All 3 different areas come join us for our great meetings. So the internet was a problem. We worked it out by using hotspots, and that seems to solve the problem. However, we still see problems periodically. The next thing to tell you is it takes time to set up for a hybrid meeting. Alan and myself and my whole family get there about 30 minutes early, And it takes almost 30 minutes to get set up for this entire meeting. Video, positioning, making sure the sound works and everything like that. The other thing, and the most important thing I want you to take away with you, is we see that there is a real struggle in people signing up to actually take part in a meeting. I stand up at the end of each meeting and say, who wants to sign up for the roles? And in the old days where everybody was all in one place, it was easy to pass around a sheet of paper and have people sign up for roles week in and week out. In the hybrid meeting, if you're there in person, it's not a problem. For those sneaky people online only, it is a challenge to get them to sign up. We'll talk more about that during our panel. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing Vineyard's journey into hybrid meetings. Yeah, those sneaky online people only. Thanks again, Mark. We have one more panelist who will be sharing his thoughts on hybrid meetings. And this person is actually a last-minute addition to the panel, and he wanted to be a part of it. I said, sure. He's got some unique things to share. Our next person is Dave Parnin. Dave has been a member of Toastmasters since 1990. He is our district's new club growth director as of this week, as well as being the current Division B director and a past Division B director. And he earned his DTM earlier this year. Congratulations, Dave, on that. He belongs to 3 clubs, which are, 2 of them are listed on the screen, and those are the hybrid clubs. The other club that's not listed is Fort Wayne Storytellers. He wants to point out he thinks area directors have the coolest jobs in Toastmasters. Yep, it's a great experience. If you've not done it before, do it at some point. So I'd like to have Dave, the next 2 to 4 minutes, share his thoughts on hybrid meetings. Dave Parnin, Distinguished Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, fellow Toastmasters. Repetition is the best way to remember something. Repetition is the best way to remember something. Repetition is the best way to remember something. And I say that because what I'm going to say, you might have heard bits and pieces of in the other presenters' talks, but I'm also going to include my own take on things. So, hybrid meetings, online meetings and in-person meetings. I say, if you're going to have an online meeting, have an online meeting. If you're going to have a hybrid meeting, have a hybrid meeting. But why? If you're going to have an on-site meeting, have an on-site meeting, but you really should consider a hybrid meeting. Now, when we think of hybrid meetings and online meetings, a lot of it has to do with the medium, like Zoom. But it doesn't have to be Zoom. Tyson sent out a list the other day of alternatives to Zoom that might work just as well for you. As Sam mentioned, the equipment, webcams are what we usually think of. Somebody brings a laptop in and sets it up. And as you mentioned, a microphone. We start with the microphone that's built into the laptop or maybe iPad. But why stop there? Because we have to consider not just the people at home, but we have to think of the people in the room as well. Consider your surroundings, both remote and on site. Like Sam said, I belong to 3 clubs. 1 is online and 2 are hybrid. One of the hybrids meets in a library meeting room with a carpeted floor and padded walls. Another hybrid meets in a church room with a tile floor and painted walls. There are no drapes on the windows. The library room is fairly easy to control. The church room, it's like an echo chamber. So you have to consider that when you are planning for your hybrid meeting. Consider an external microphone. Consider not just that, but external speakers. And if you're going to have the microphone, is the laptop that it's attached to going to be right next to the lectern? Is it going to be on the opposite side of the room? If so, you'll probably need an extension cable. If so, you want to consider distance limitations. USB 2.0 is limited to 16 feet. USB 3.0 is 10 feet. Chances are it's going to be 2.0, so you get that little extra length out of it. But if you plug two extension cables together, yeah, you've got close to 30 feet, but you might have data problems and the sound might cut out. The people at home are watching on their computer screens, but what about people in the room? If you have your laptop turned so that the front-facing camera is facing the speaker, is everybody else going to have to turn around to see them? Suppose you have a speaker on site and another one that's in the room. How are you going to deal, on site and remote? Do they turn one way to look at one to another? It'd be helpful if the room had a television or a projector of some sort. And with all of the equipment, we've heard how it takes a while to set it up. Have a practice meeting. Even if it's just two of you from the club, set up a Zoom meeting or whatever, and try out the equipment. Work out the technical bugs before the actual meeting. This microphone here, it's not the one I'm talking to. I'm talking through my headset, which is easier, but this one here, it's a great little microphone. However, Tom Hollinger and myself spent about an hour one night working out the bugs of it. Windows recognized it, it was there. Zoom saw it, but it didn't work. And it's a long story of why it didn't work, and I won't get into that. But try it out, work out those things before you're under the gun to start your meeting. How about the timing lights for both on-site and remote attendees? At one of the library meetings, I brought my personal laptop. I'm currently using my work laptop. On my work laptop for remote meetings, if I want to do timing, I've got green, yellow, and red backgrounds that I can change for my talk or for my timing. But when I was on site, I had my personal one and oh nuts, I don't have the colors. I can't change my background. So I had to put something together under the gun as the meeting was getting started. Consider the equipment you're using. Is it consistent each time? Suppose the person who brings the laptop is sick. Do you have two laptops in the meeting? One facing forward so they can see the speaker and one facing the other way so the remote people can see the people in the audience that are on site. How about the word of the day? How are you going to display it? Do you hold it up in front of the camera? Will they remember it when everybody else can look at it all the time? Those are things to think about and consider how you want to address it. During the meeting, everyone is sergeant at arms. You come into a meeting, I say the meeting begins when the second person gets there because you're communicating. We are a communications organization. So don't just come in and be quiet and start putting out the flag and things. And don't just join online. How do you acknowledge the people who are remote while you're doing the things on site? Do you include them in the discussion? Can you hear them easily? Do you need a set of external speakers to go with your laptop and your external microphone? So you have a hybrid meeting. What do you do afterwards? You evaluate your performance? You can record a meeting on Zoom. So do it, watch it, evaluate it just like you would a speech. What could be improved upon? What did we do well? Solicit feedback from both the on-site and the remote attendees. Could the people that were remote hear you okay? Could they see what they needed to see? Could the on-site people see the person who was remote giving their speech? So hybrid meetings. We live in a time of COVID, so be cautious today when you do it. Maybe just consider online only, but plan for tomorrow because it like we've heard before, it is going to be the future. Mr. Moderator, Sam.
Thank you, Dave, for sharing those insights on hybrid meetings. Now it's your turn, audience. We're going to open up for a question and answer session. Use the chat feature to send your questions to me. And if you have if your question is for a specific panelist, make note of that in your question. We send it through the chat feature. So we're going to take a few minutes here for a question and answer session involving our panelists. And while I'm waiting for questions to start coming in, let me throw out this first question to all the panelists. I know that Mark is involved in setting things up for his hybrid meetings, and I'm assuming, Dave, you are too. Valerie, are you the main person for your club as well, who handles setting things up? Or
We have a sergeant at arms, but I do set up as well in the room. We're still online right now, though.
Okay, all right. My question for all of you is, let's see. Mark mentioned takes about half an hour. Is anyone a little bit slower or faster than half an hour for setting things up? I know for me, I am sergeant at arms as well for all those clubs, and it does take about half an hour for me. Valerie, how long approximately does it take for your club to set things up in a hybrid environment?
Sam, for our club, we have a 2-station checklist. If the individual follows the checklist, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to set up. And that includes for both stations, online and face-to-face.
Very good. Dave, how long for your clubs?
Oh, to be honest, I'm not the person who's setting it up. I'm just there to say, well, I think you should do that. But
Okay.
but it's probably, I'd say 15, maybe 20 minutes, depending on the tech issues of the day.
Okay, all right. Mark, how about you?
So to clarify that a little bit, so it does take us about 25 to 30 minutes. That also includes us having to rearrange the room because it's a court waiting room mostly. The one thing I will say to watch out, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, is I can tell you the time that the only person that showed up to set the room up was Alan on his own, because whatever reason, nobody else showed up at the time. And so it's really important to have a plan in place of how to set it up, but more importantly, have backup so everybody knows how to do it, because what happened that night was not good.
Okay, good lesson, good point. All right, I've got some questions now in the chat. All right. We need an explanation from Valerie about Kahoot. Valerie can give what is Kahoot?
Well, Kahoot is an online gaming system that's used in the business community as well as schools. If I'm allowed to share my screen, I could do a quick demo.
Go ahead, sure. Several people are asking about it.
First log on. You have your individuals in the meeting, just sign in. Just like what it's saying here, you do your sign in, you would put the number in. So you would put 5841289, and then you'd hit enter. Everyone in the room is encouraged to have a mobile device, but if they don't have a mobile device, they simply use the chat box and directions are given. Then you just put in a nickname, whatever that is, that's fine, and then you click go. This is a quick one regarding the eye counter. There's a method to Kahoot. Then you just start the game, and here's how it rolls. You would play your video first, and then that has your information. You simply continue to move through. You'll see how a question comes up. There's a slide to reinforce what you need. On your mobile device, you just continue to move through. The question is asking you, is this correct or not? If it's in the chat box, you would simply use the first letter of the alphabet, which matched your answer. And let's say the answer was red, you would click it on your mobile device or enter R in the chat box. And then you simply move through, and that's how you do it. At the end, there's actually a poll that you can put in to ask the question whether or not the person learned what they were supposed to learn. And then there's a leaderboard at the end. And basically that's how it works in the meeting. You always want to set a Kahoot up with a measurable outcome and make sure that you have that outcome tested at the end. We use this in all of our meetings. I didn't have the music or anything on today or the sound just to demonstrate. It's very simple, and it takes a meeting to a heightened level of excitement. People look forward to it. Does that answer the question?
I think Scott's plot. All right, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. All right, we also have, I'm gonna bring on, I know another person in the audience who has done hybrid meetings. That's Francisco Palacio, who is from Division F and also a fellow lot member. And the question here, Francisco, if you can get online for a moment, there's a question about sound mixers. If you could.
Yeah, I saw it. I wrote in the chat just what it was, just echoing what Dave pointed out. It is software. It's better to test it. And yes, now apparently every video conferencing app has a sound control, sound mixer, however you want to call it. I just found out in Zoom 2 weeks ago that people weren't hearing me because Zoom was trying to adjust my microphone automatically. I turned that off. Now people can hear me. You could hear me, right?
I can hear it, yes.
Okay. And that's because I found that there was another place to play with the volume and the level. That's what I meant by sound mixer. Thank you.
All right, thanks for sharing, Francisco. Let's see, another question is, for me, the microphone that I end up selecting is Insignia. It's a Best Buy brand mic, it's about $40. I also have a conference room microphone, which is a lot more expensive. It is MXL, and the model number is AC404. But the main one I use right now is this Insignia microphone for the lectern. I'm going to ask Alan Shaner, who's in the audience. He wants to explain something about Vineyard setup, about the length. Alan, can you jump in and explain the Vineyard setup?
Thank you, Sam. So at Vineyard, what we do is we have a live audience. We have our Zoom audience. We set the room up so we have audience members facing a table with a lectern on it. There's a laptop on that table pointed at whoever is speaking at the lectern. We also have an additional laptop set up that is pointed towards the audience, the camera. So the Zoom audience can see the live audience. So the live audience can see the Zoom audience. We project onto a screen that is hanging up front at a 45-degree angle as compared to the speaker in the audience. So both the person at the lectern and the audience can see the screen. And we have our Zoom audience on gallery view, so everybody can see everybody. Now, there is one challenge when we do this. Everybody that is live, if they are speaking in any role as a speaker or evaluator, they need to go to the lectern so they are on camera. However, if you have a Zoom member that is an evaluator, whoever they are evaluating, that person needs to go to the lectern so the Zoom evaluator can't see them up close while they're evaluating them. Having multiple laptops, you can only have the sound and microphone on one laptop only. Otherwise, you'll get echoes. Another problem we have encountered having to use our hotspots on our iPhones is there is usually a 1 second delay from the sound to the video. So our lips are moving before you hear the sound. Anyway, our room is set up so a live audience can see the entire Zoom audience on the screen. The Zoom audience can see the entire live audience, plus they can see the person at the lectern. So that's why it does take a little while for us to get completely set up. Thank you, Sam.
All right, thank you, Alan. Wrap things up here. There are lots of questions in the chat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to gather these questions and share them with the panelists, and we can get answers to you on these specific questions that have been that you've submitted. So I'm glad you're thinking about hybrid meetings as a possibility for your clubs down the road. At this time, I'm going to give control back to our district's program quality director, Scott Brown, to wrap things up. Scott, and thank you, panelists, for being a part of this educational session. Let's give them a round of applause.
Wonderful job, Sam. Wonderful job, Lot. What amazing information, inspiration, and an action plan for all of us to move forward with hybrid meetings. Thank you so very much. So as we get ready to close this section, a couple questions for everybody. One, does anybody have any outstanding questions that you just want to ask as a whole regarding Sam, regarding the presentation? Maybe not necessarily specific, but if you have one quick question, we have about 2 minutes till we have to end this session. Any last question out there that is really kind of just burning a hole that you really have to ask?
Scott, I do have one, and this is more of a suggestion. I am not a technical person, so it would be nice to have some technical training via Zoom.
I made that note.
And more.
I made that note to schedule that after we're done, to add that into the district schedule. Yes, I completely agree. I was thinking the same thing as you were going through that this is a good start, but we need to help people take the first step. This is a great second step. We need to get the first step down first. Very good call out, Donna. Absolutely.
Because there are clubs that are hesitant in getting on Zoom, and I've seen the membership numbers really drop by 50% in some of the Division H clubs.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Very good call. Very good call out. Sam, before we go, do you want to talk about LOT meetings at all? About 30 seconds to a minute to talk about.
Yes, I'll keep it 30 seconds. Through the chat, you've gotten my email address and a link to a web page where we have our meeting themes and dates for the next few LOT meetings. Again, we're a club that focuses on leadership issues involving our clubs and our district leaders. We meet twice a month, usually on first Monday night of the month and a selected Saturday morning. Again, that link gives you the information for LOT. By the way, our next meeting on December 7th, online speech contest, which is a huge leadership challenge for all of our clubs here in District 11 and across the world. Thanks, Scott. Back to you.
Very nice. Thank you. Everyone, please give it up for Leadership Outreach Toastmasters, for Sam Bristol, for Mark Mandel, for Valerie Rice, for Dave Parnin, for everybody who participated, for Alan Shaner, for everyone who participated in questions and answers and putting this together. Thank you all so very, very much. You did a wonderful job tonight. Could not be more thankful that you took the time out of your evening to share that information with us. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have another presentation coming up, though. This is just the beginning of the night. We have another hour to go. Chase Patrick is going to be coming up. But before we do that, we are going to end this recording so that we can start a new one at the top of the hour. To welcome Chase on by himself,